Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, March 21st, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron and Terry Edelman with you, ready to break down the Thursday NHL card. Matt Robinson's currently in a meeting at work, but he will be on the show later on. He will join us before we wrap up, probably around 3 p.m. Eastern time. And I told him, don't worry, Matt, he will still be going at 3 p.m. Eastern time, especially on these Thursdays when it's such a huge card, loaded with tons of games, tons of betting opportunities as well. So we're looking forward to breaking them all down here on this Thursday edition of the show. And I know, certainly from my standpoint, I don't think so much from Terry's standpoint, but many of us, I know it's March Madness. The college basketball NCAA tournament is off and running, games left and right, and we're all excited about that. And I'm stoked for the NCAA tournament. But it's time to get stoked for this Thursday NHL card here tonight as well. So for now, let's get that March Madness bullshit out of here. You know, this is a hockey show. And we're here to talk pucks here on the Thursday. And I say that with all love and adulation because I'm into the tournament. But this is a hockey show, and I'm looking forward to talking about this NHL slate tonight on this Thursday. Great games to watch, a lot of great games, and some great betting opportunities as well. So briefly on last night, the Wednesday slate, we saw obviously 3 games. The Leafs take care of business against the Capitals. I hate to say I told you so, but I'm going to say it. I told you so. It was a bad spot for Washington in that game, coming off the long road trip, a 5-game road trip, and it ended up being a Leaf team that was able to jump on them like literally right away. 16 seconds in, they get the opening goal in that game. And the Leafs, you know, there were times to give Washington credit. I thought actually they had their legs pretty decently in the first period. They had some chances. Joe Woll was very strong in net, but they kind of gave out later in the game. Every time Washington responded and scored a goal, 2 for Ovechkin, by the way, the Leafs responded in kind and pushed the lead back up to 2 goals. And then eventually they blew it wide open in the third period and ended up winning 7-3. So that was a great result for me. We had the Leafs first period puck money line as my best bet on the show. Leafs first period money line. We had a sprinkle on the first period puck line at plus 170. On Toronto. We had Leafs full game, so it was a great spot for the Leafs off a bad game against Philly, and sure enough, they got the job done. So that was really good to see. Brett Skalski in the chat cashing was his best bet. Yeah, his bargain bin, I should say, was John Tavares over 1.5 points. Credit to him. He had a 3-point night, so absolutely great performance from Tavares. Really, everybody showed it. It was a monster night for Austin Matthews. 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Could have had a hat trick, but it was taken back because of offside, and it was the right call. But that close to a hat trick, that's the Leaf team that is capable of doing damage in the playoffs. But unfortunately, it's not the Leaf team you see every night. But last night you did, and they played very well in that game, routing the Washington Capitals. Credit to the Dallas Stars. It still bothers me that, down 1-0 in the opening period of that game to the Coyotes and give up a goal to an inferior team again at home. But they woke up in the second period and took over, and they rolled to a 5-2 victory over Arizona. The over gets home, and I know I jumped on that. Terry really liked the over there in that game, and it gets there after a sluggish start. And what a pass by Duchesne on the Sagan goal in the second period. One of the lovelier assists that you'll find in recent memory. And these second period overs keep cashing too with Dallas. I mean, it's really not slowed down. They've just been such a good second period over team, and it continued last night. Great performance in the last 2 periods, at least, from the Dallas Stars to get themselves, obviously, a victory. And unfortunately, Terry, we do have to talk about it. The Minnesota Wild, it was an absolute disaster last night. 6-0 shutout. Thankfully, Wild doesn't cash. Obviously, they get whipped, but the over does, all thanks to the LA Kings, who get all 6 goals for that game getting up and over the total. But yeah, that's a tough one for Minnesota. Just a bad night. I can't even say bad things about Fleury. I thought they hung him out to dry, quite honestly, last night in that game with a bad first period. A couple of bad breaks, too. That third goal from LA, it ricocheted off Mermis, the defenseman there for the Wild, so not much he can do there. Just a bad night for Minnesota. I do like that they showed a little, we hate this. This sucks, and got a little ornery late in the game. And it got a little cantankerous, got a little agitated. Ryan Hartman stirring the pot, stirring up shit, going after Dubois in the third period. A couple melees. What a fight, by the way, with Jacob Middleton and Andreas Englund in that game. That was an outstanding fight. One of the better fights probably of the last month or so in the NHL. Great to see that for sure. And a great win for the LA Kings. And it's back to the drawing board, Terry, for your Minnesota Wild. Any thoughts from you on Wednesday night?
Yeah, well, the first game of the night was the game that I don't want to say I didn't care about, but it was my least confident play, and I swept both plays, and that game went great. John Tavares anytime goal, and Alex Ovechkin anytime goal. Two nice cashes there. I was watching that game. The Stars game, 1-0 Arizona, right at the end of the first period. And I was thinking, okay, I'm not really liking how this game is going so far. But as Addison, who's in the chat a lot, has said, and as the Ice guys have said plenty of times this year, Dallas second period overs. We bet it on the betcast. I remember that one betcast, Ian said, everyone's got to bet it. You have to if you're watching the betcast. And yesterday, 14 minutes. There was around 14 minutes left in the second. I tweeted out that I was betting it plus 110 for the second period, over 1.5. And Dallas goes and scores 3 goals. And it's like, yes, the magic continues for that second period over, plus 110. Such a beautiful price to get that at. And then the full game over got there.
You got it right in the midway part of the second period, right? Like around 12, 13 minutes left in the period, because it was 1-0. And then you're right, Dallas tied it like just a minute or two after. And I was looking at it too. It was, and I saw that it got to like over 1.5 at like plus 120. I even saw in a couple spots with that second period over. So yeah, 25-2 now, says Chris Otto, of course, is tracking all these and just tremendous work. 25-2. 25-2 in the last 27 games for Dallas Stars, second period over. Unbelievable.
The ultimate streak. Like you don't see streaks like that. And there was the one game where there was a goal so quickly I couldn't bet it. But otherwise, I've been trying to bet it live. I'm trying to get that once I see minus 125, minus 130, or up towards plus money, I go for it. Unfortunately, Johnston didn't get a point. My props didn't go well on the Dallas game. Jamie Benn. I've been taking him to get assists, and now he's scoring goals. So Jamie Benn point prop is probably the best way to go. And then, yeah, the Wild game. Hey, some Wild fans will use excuses. No Eriksson Ek, no Brodin, but you lost 6-0. So yes, losing Brodin hurt the defense, and yes, Joel Eriksson Ek being out doesn't help the offense. But when you don't score a goal, you can't really blame anybody except the entire team. I think the entire team is to blame for yesterday's game. Kaprizov's goal streak unfortunately comes to an end. Everything just came to an end for the Wild. And
that's one too where John Hines deserves some blame too, like not having his team ready to go. And that's what Sheldon Keefe did after the Philly game. He said it's some of my fault too. I didn't have him ready to go tonight, and clearly Minnesota was not ready to go last night. That was just at all did they look ready to go.
Yeah, and I stopped watching after the first period. I didn't watch the rest of that game. Why would I want to? But really, for the Wild,
like, that in the pit of your gut, as a fan of a team, that a night when they start off slow, but there's a chance they can creep back into the game, and then there's a game like that where they start off slow, but it's so bad and it's such domination that it's like, there's no fucking chance in hell they're coming back tonight, and that's how you felt, yeah.
Especially after that third goal. Yeah. So you're already off to a bad start, and then you get that unlucky bounce, and it's like, that was just it. I was hoping Kaprizov goal could somehow get there, but it is what it is. And I think it was Tim in the chat, someone named Tim in the chat, saying that the Wild aren't going to go anywhere this year. I never expected them to. If the Wild did make the playoffs, if they do somehow make the playoffs, they'll win Game 3, but they'll lose the series 4-1. They're just not ready for a long playoff run yet. They're still a couple years away with guys coming. So unfortunate night, but tonight's slate is so beautiful. All I have is plus money plays all over the place. So
wow,
really nice slate for us to talk about tonight.
There you go. How's that for teaser for the remainder of the show. Lots of plus money, underdog looks, plus money bets here for Terry on the card. Let's get into the card. It is a huge one. We will begin with the St. Louis Blues taking on the Ottawa Senators. We've got Ottawa minus 130, home favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this one. The Ottawa Senators, of course, the rough season that it's been for this team yet. And they're a very, very erratic bunch to bet on or against right now, at least for me. You look at some of these recent games where they take LA to overtime, who needs the points. They beat Pittsburgh in overtime, not saying much. Columbus in a shootout, 3-2. Again, not saying a lot, but beating the Blue Jackets. But they did beat the Islanders 4-3 in overtime. But you look at the way the Islanders have played, and yes, the Islanders need the points, and Ottawa played spoiler, and you got to give them some level of credit for that. But the Islanders' form is not good right now. They haven't played, obviously, very well these last several games. Combination of, they're giving up a few too many goals, and the offense is kind of quieted down. The one thing we know about Ottawa, too, is they're capable of not only losing, but having a dreadful night. And they are off now back-to-back rough nights against Carolina and Boston, albeit two of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. But you lose 7-2 to Carolina at home, 6-2 to Boston on the road. You get outscored 13-4 in those two games. It's not exactly what you want to see here in this matchup against the St. Louis Blues. And again, a St. Louis team that's still right in the mix here as far as the postseason is concerned. They're at 75 points. They're trailing Vegas by just 4 points in the standings. So definitely it's a Blues team that, still believes that they can make a push here when it's all said and done. You look at series history between these two teams. The Blues are 7-3 in the last 10 matchups between these teams. They've also won 2 of the last 3 games between the two teams here in Ottawa, although last year Ottawa beat them pretty handily, 7-2. But before that, the Blues had won 2 in a row here in Ottawa, 5-2 and 6-4. Looks like as far as the goaltending here for this Thursday night matchup in this game for St. Louis, looks like we are going to see, here we go, Joel Hofer, and it's going to be Anton Forsberg in net for the Ottawa Senators here tonight. And I know someone commented about Hofer the other night, and it's true. Hofer's gotten better. He's won his last 2 starts. And very impressively, he only gave up 2 goals to Anaheim. He only gave up 1 goal in a victory to Boston. And he had to face 65 shots and only gave up 63 goals. So 62 saves on 65 shots for Hofer. So he's played a little bit better here lately. We'll see if he can keep that rolling. It's Anton Forsberg who will be in between the pipes tonight for the Ottawa Senators. Forsberg, man, he has given up 4 goals or more in 3 of his last 4 starts. And in those 4 starts, he has a 4.99 goals against average and an .851 save percentage going into this start tonight for the Ottawa Senators. So, I'm going to take St. Louis here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it. And because that's what I've been doing lately with some of these teams when I'm backing them, is I take the money line and I split with the team total because I've been burned a couple of times, at least by some instances where the team scores 4 goals and they still lose the game. I don't know if tonight's going to be one of these nights, but that is how I'm going to approach it here. You can get St. Louis at around plus 115, as high as that price here on the money line, and split it up here with the team total, which you can get at a very nice plus 120 in some spots with this St. Louis team total over 3.5. And again, we're talking about a goalie in Anton Forsberg who has allowed 4 goals in 3 of his last 4 starts, 4 or more. So I think that puts the Blues in a pretty solid position to get to 4 goals here in this game tonight. Terry, what do you think here, St. Louis, Ottawa?
Yeah, the Blues are playing well. They've won 4 of their last 5 games, and they are in Minnesota are right there in that playoff hunt. Vegas is stumbling, so St. Louis still has a lot of motivation to win this game. 8-3 in the last 11 games between these teams. So for some reason, the Blues play well when they face the Senators. And I have to take the Blues here, plus 110. It's underdog price. They're the better team here. They have more to play for. They have success against the Senators team. And they've got some guys producing right now. Jake Neighbors, point in 4 games in a row. I'm on him, plus 125 to get a point. Justin Falk to get an assist. He's done that in 4 of his last 5 games, plus 175 to get an assist tonight. I love that Forsberg's been giving up goals. That definitely helps the two player props there. Um, so Blues money line plus 114, plus 110 now. Neighbors point and Justin Falk assist for me here in this game.
Yeah, and speaking of neighbors, I'm on the goal prop. Won't you be my neighbor, Jake Neighbors, for the St. Louis Blues? Like I said, he's been picking things up of late for them. No question about that. And I think definitely a chance for that to continue. You look at the lineup situation here with both of these teams. For St. Louis, too, um, Braden Shen, is a streaky guy, and he's up on the top line now with Thomas and Neighbors as well. So keep an eye on the captain, Braden Shen. And I'm taking a shot again with Toropchenko. Toropchenko, man, this fourth line left winger here for the St. Louis Blues. Man, he's basically stepped out of the stepped up out of no. He's got 14 goals on the year, but the majority of his goals have been in the month of March here. He's now got 5 goals here in the month of March, which is a span of 10 games. And keep in mind, you're getting absolutely outstanding price on him to score a goal most nights right now for the St. Louis Blues. So, again, there's a really good value on Toropchenko down there on that top line, in my opinion, for the Blues to be able to find the back of the net. So, definitely think those are worthy options. There are some injuries, too, for Ottawa, including the potential of missing Claude Giroux tonight. He's day-to-day right now for this team due to an illness, and he's got the potential maybe to miss this game tonight. Yeah, Ottawa can play spoiler. There's no doubt. But I expected the Blues to be the slight favorite in this game. I had this maybe Blues minus 115. I don't think the Blues were going to be big road favorites, but I at least expected minus 110 to minus 115 here on St. Louis. Maybe a slight road favorite or at least even money. I did not think Ottawa was coming in at minus 130, and that's a big reason why I'm on St. Louis. It's the price point where it's at. I'm just a little surprised. The odds makers in the betting markets are giving the Senators this much respect. Minus 130 home favorite right now from them? No, not for me. And I think St. Louis definitely has some value there. What do you think here? Next up here, Winnipeg Jets, New Jersey Devils. Winnipeg minus 125, road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. The New Jersey Devils, again, it's not exactly a bleak, or it's not exactly a rosy picture for them as far as the playoff contention is concerned. But I think when you look at this matchup here for the Devils, they are coming into this game, they're off a solid win, albeit it's against a Pittsburgh team that's not been playing well. But now they're up to 70 points. They have to keep the pedal down to the ground because they're 6 points behind the second wild card team, the Detroit Red Wings, who currently have 76 points. And they also have the Sabres, the Islanders, and the Capitals, all between them and the Red Wings right now for that wild card spot. So there's a lot of work to be done right now for the New Jersey Devils. I guess you could say that the Flyers, the third place spot, they could say that we're still eyeing maybe catching them, but they are 8 points back of the Flyers. So it would be a lot of work that would be needed to be done here for New Jersey to catch them. But so you should see a desperate team with a sense of urgency. But I'm not trusting them to beat a good team. I'm just not. And that's the way we've seen it here from this Devils team. When they've won since the coaching change, and, we talk about it a lot on this show, the coaching change often gives a team a little bit of a bump and a little bit of a spark. And for New Jersey, I think there's been some signs that their game's been a little bit better at times than it was prior to the coaching change and Lindy Ruff getting fired. But the facts and the results are what they are. And since the coaching change, the wins that they've accumulated were against St. Louis. They did have a good road win against Dallas. I should point that out. They did. That was the one really, really good win they had. Dallas was not sharp that night. And then they beat Pittsburgh. But they've also lost to Arizona. They've also lost to Vegas 3-1, the Rangers, the Hurricanes. We'll see how they fare here tonight, but I'm not ready to trust them against the Jets, who are playing really well. 3 straight wins for Winnipeg against Anaheim, Columbus, and the Rangers. That was a great win for the Jets. I thought it was one of their better games in quite some time. They've beaten the Devils 4 of the last 5 head-to-head meetings as well here in this game. I'm not on to this game because I think for Winnipeg, I am a little concerned about coming off the Ranger win. How do they fare here in this game? This has nothing to do with Brossoit. I've got no issues with Brossoit. Brossoit I have no problem betting on Winnipeg when he's in net. He's been very good this year. This, to me, though, is just, you're off the huge game against the Rangers. Do you bring it here tonight against a Devils team that could certainly be playing with an utmost sense of urgency? that remains to be seen. It's look, let me put it this way. It's Jets or pass. I don't want New Jersey. I don't trust New Jersey, but I've made the decision here. I'm probably going to stay off it. I lean Winnipeg, but not involved. The same thing from the total here in this game. Jake Allen, too, has played very well. He's going to be back in net tonight against Laurent Brossoit. He's played very well for this New Jersey Devils team. And I think that is something you want to keep in mind. And Carter Hutton, who is our resident goalie expert, former NHL goalie, he passes along his up to the minute, observations and analysis on all the goalies. Goalies trending up, goalies trending down. Carter Hutton says what he said to me text form yesterday. He said that Jake Allen, of all goalies, has made one of the bigger jumps up in his form in the last handful of games as he's seen in quite some time. And I agree. He's been terrific. It's like new life all of a sudden that he's in New Jersey, because this was not the Jake Allen in Montreal. It really was not, but he's played a lot better. And New Jersey, prior to the Pittsburgh game, they've been an under team because they haven't exactly been lighting it up offensively. They finally did against Pittsburgh. I'm not trusting them to light it up offensively here tonight against a Jets team. So believe it or not, I wouldn't be shocked to see this game stay under the total. I wouldn't, because I think Brossoit, people underrate him. I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. And Allen's in good form right now. So I'd actually lean under this total here with the Jets and the Devils. And definitely from a side perspective, Winnipeg or nothing. But as of now, it's a pass. Terry, what do you think here? Winnipeg, New Jersey.
Play of the day that's not plus money. I'm on the Jets money line here in this one. Obviously, we all know they're the better team here. That's easy to say. They've absolutely dominated the Devils, 11-1-1 in the last 13 games, and that's going back quite a few years now. They already beat them 6-3 earlier on in the season. Laurent Brossoit has been, I don't think you could ask for any better from a backup goalie than what Laurent Brossoit has done. He's won his last 5 starts in a row, back-to-back shutouts. Yes, Seattle and Anaheim, but still, when he's being asked to save 17 or 21 shots, he's doing it. Against St. Louis, 36 of 38. Against Minnesota, 36 of 39. He's just playing really well right now. I have to take the Jets at this great price on the road, especially against a team that they've just had their number for so long. And this one, player props, I don't really have much here. Mark Scheifele's got a point at 8 of 9, so that's a parlay piece you could look at. But there's nothing really.
I do. It's clear as day. It's Tyler Toffoli against his old team. How do you not? That is definitely on the old prop card for yours truly.
Yeah, he does have point in 3 straight games. So I'm not sure how many assists or how many goals, but that's definitely a good look. I think you're right, Ian. I think this could be a low scoring game. So I'm sticking away from props, but I do like the Jets here.
And I'm going to go one step further. I think it's over 1.5 points for Tyler Toffoli for me as well. You get a nice, he's had multiple multi-point games already with the Winnipeg Jets coming into this game. Again, he's facing the team. There's no animosity. Toffoli knows New Jersey was selling at the deadline. He knows he was a trade piece. He knew there were going to be suitors, and the Devils were going to look to deal him if the offer was right for them, for Tommy Fitzgerald. So it's not like, fuck you, you guys traded me away. He knew it was coming. But you still want to play well when you're playing your old team, and you still want to make an impact, and you still want to produce offensively. So, yeah, I like Toffoli here, not only the goal prop, but I think over 1.5 points. He had 3 points against Columbus, 2 against Anaheim. He just got the 1 point against the Rangers, but, that was played in a bit of a playoff-style game. And keep in mind, too, that facing Igor Shesterkin, too, one of the best goalies in the world. So, definitely, I think not only the Toffoli goal prop for me, but taking it one step further here, I think with that over 1.5 points worth a look as well. I think Iafallo still has value too on the top line for Winnipeg right now with Scheifele and Connor. But again, you're not getting production yet from him in that spot. Hopefully, eventually, we can start to see the puck go in for him. For New Jersey, Dawson Mercer and Alexander Holtz. I really, really like Alexander Holtz right now. This is a guy that finally, unlike with Lindy, and this was a problem. I don't think Lindy was to blame for everything that went wrong, but the way he treated Holtz And the way he buried that guy after every mistake he made and put him on the fourth line was not right. This guy, especially now when you need offense, when you've struggled to score goals. And Alexander Holtz has been given more rope, more wiggle room, more leeway from Travis Green in recent games. And sure enough, what did we see from Alexander Holtz the other night against Pittsburgh? He gets put on the second line with Hughes and Howla, and he gets a goal for the New Jersey Devils in that game against Pittsburgh, and breaks a little bit of a drought. And he's actually got 2 goals in the last 4 games. So this is a first-round pick. This is a guy with immense offensive upside. And I think if he gets put in a position to succeed, as in you put him in a spot like this, on a second line where he's got the potential to make a big impact, he's going to do damage. So Alexander Holtz, I think, has some good value too for New Jersey as far as props in this game. All right, we move along. It's Philadelphia, Carolina. Carolina minus 250, home favorites. The total of 6 here, pretty much across the board. Flyers and Hurricanes. The Sean Couturier healthy scratch drama continues, rolls along for another day, although it ended up working out perfectly for the Flyers the first game without their captain as they beat Toronto on Tuesday night. No change to the lineup for Torts. Of course, people are squawking again. You're scratching him again. You don't fucking change a winning lineup. Everybody knows that. Now that he's committed, to scratching his captain, Sean Couturier, and you won that first game without him, did you really think Philly media and some of the fans, did you really fucking think he was going to change the lineup tonight, coming off a win against the Toronto Maple Leafs the other night? No. And he's going with what worked the other night. There's Atkinson, Couturier, Gurionov. They're all still a healthy scratch. You don't change a winning lineup. So he's rolling back running it back, the group, the forward group, the 12 forwards, the 6D that he had on Tuesday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, look, you can bitch all you want about it, but it is what it is, and you gotta accept it and see how this team continues to play without the captain. This will be a lot tougher, though, with all due respect. And Toronto's a good team, but now it's Carolina on the road, and it's Carolina that is just on fire right now, kind of like a locomotive churning down the tracks, and just cannot be stopped at this point. It's been a 4-game win streak, 7-1 in their last 8 games. And look, these last 4 games, other than the Ottawa win, 7-2, which was a beatdown, they shut out a very good Florida team, maybe the best team in the East, 4-0. They beat Toronto 5-4 in a shootout. It wasn't their best game, but they didn't give up. They found a way to get back and tie it up, and then they won in a shootout against a good Leaf team. And then they beat the Islanders 4-1 on the road, and the Islanders have everything to play for. They need every point they can get. And Carolina just said, no, not on our watch. And they won that game 4-1 the other night. So they're playing well. I have no interest stepping in front of Carolina. Now, this is them coming off a 3-game road trip, but it does not, I repeat, it does not fit the Malinsky special criteria. Okay, that's got to be a 4-game road trip or longer. 3 games or less road trip does not count. So it's not that devastating a spot as, a longer road trip would be. We'll see if Philadelphia can build on the momentum of that win against Toronto. Now, I should point out, Philly did beat Carolina 3-1 right here at PNC Arena back in November. Okay, this is a sneaky, maybe underdog spot for the Flyers. Maybe. But I'm not going against Carolina right now. I'm passing on the side in this game. I may sprinkle on the draw just a little bit maybe on the draw, because with Carolina off the 3 games, Philly's, obviously found a little something as far as energy is concerned, even with the lineup changes. Maybe this game is pretty tight, but the one thing I will go on from a Carolina perspective, even though I think this could be a competitive game, is I like the over 6 here, because the Flyers to me have kind of lost their way a little bit defensively. And if you look at what we've seen here from Philly, even in the Toronto game, they won. They gave up 3. They gave up 6 to Boston. They gave up 6 to Toronto again. They've gone over the total 4 of their last 5 games. Tampa put 7 on the board against Philly in Tampa as well. And then you look at this Carolina team, and they've just been a great offensive team. I mean, all 7 games of this current 7-1 run, they've scored at least 4 goals in every game. So I like the over 6, but I'm going to get in more on the team total because I made this mistake the other night against the Islanders where I just went over full game and I had nothing on the Carolina team total. And only the Carolina team total ended up cashing in. I'm not making that mistake tonight. I'm splitting it up. Yes, full game over. I do think the Flyers can get on the board. I'm still thinking this little, Aladdin genie magic that Freddie Anderson's got going is not going to continue indefinitely. He's been good, but he's also benefited from some weaker teams, a few weaker offenses during this stretch. Now you're facing a team that's desperate, team that did get their offense going a little bit against Toronto. The one thing I found about the lineup changes for Torts the other night too, a lot more speed, a lot more youth, a lot more offensive-driven lineup put together by Tortorella for Philadelphia. And they looked like a more fluid offensive team. So I think the Flyers could challenge this Carolina D and Freddie Anderson and net a little bit. So I'm going to do a little over 6. And I'm also going to, but I have to get in on Carolina team total over 3.5. They've been almost automatic lately, getting to 4 goals. And with Philly's defensive issues, Erson's been hot and cold lately in net. He'll be in net for the Flyers tonight. I could definitely still see Carolina, even with the desperation there for Philly, I could still see Carolina getting their 4 goals, which they've done routinely of late. What do you think here, Terry? Flyers, Hurricanes?
Well, a little bit of disagreement here on this one. So, hey, I've said on the show most of the time I try to stay away when it comes to sides with the Flyers, but I had to bet it. I had to bet it today. I love the Canes puck line here. They've won 7 of their last 8 games, and they're just smashing teams. Um, 7 of their last 8 wins have been by multiple goals. They've won 9 of the last 10 meetings between these two teams. And yes, they are coming off a loss. The one loss was, as Ian said, earlier this year. But this Hurricanes team wasn't playing to the level they are now earlier this year. And the Flyers, yes, they had that win over Toronto, but this is a big step up. I shouldn't say a step up in class, but this is a team that's playing a lot better right now than I think Toronto is. Frederik Andersen, since coming back from injury, he's won all 4 games. Yes, 2 goals against Ottawa, 2 goals against Calgary, 1 goal against Montreal. Not the strongest of opponents, but shutting out Florida, winning 4-0 when the Canes beat Florida. That one did impress me. And he's been consistent and played very well since returning from injury. So I'm on the Canes puck line here. I don't think this game is very close. So I'll take the Canes puck line. And I mentioned it on Saturday show, Seth Jarvis. He's got a goal in 5 of his last 6 games, plus 220 to score tonight. Jake Gensel is a great parlay piece, a point 4 games in a row, 3 games in a row, multi-point games for Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel, Seth Jarvis, very new teammates, obviously, have not been playing very long together, but have found instant chemistry. And I just really like what I see from that top line for Carolina. Marty Necas, yeah, he's not scoring, but he's getting 3 shots on goal, 13 of his last 14 games. So if you want to look at a parlay piece there. And then for the Flyers, Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, points in 4 games in a row on that top line for the Flyers. So both are playing pretty well right now in Frost and Tippett.
I agree. Morgan Frost, your go-to prop guy right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. And look, Torts, he was in his doghouse for a while. Wasn't happy with his play away from the puck, but he's put him now in a spot with Konechny and Tippett. You could argue that's 2 of the best forwards on the team, and he's now got points in 4 straight games, multi-point game against the Leafs, 3 goals in the last 4 games. So whatever you want here with Frost here for Philly, goal, assist prop, point prop, anything. I agree. Morgan Frost is the guy right now for the Philadelphia Flyers driving things. And it goes without saying Seth Jarvis on the Carolina side. As long as he stays on that top line spot with Aho and Gensel, which he should with the absence of Teravainen, he's now gone goals in 4 straight games, points in 4 straight games for the Hurricanes, goals in 5 of the last 6 games. So hands down, my favorite prop for Philly tonight is Morgan Frost. For Carolina, it's Seth Jarvis. That being said, I would sprinkle on Gensel and Kuznetsov as well for Carolina. I've mentioned this with Kuznetsov. He looks like he's happier, found new life in Carolina, better team, contending for playoffs and for a Stanley Cup again out of Washington and getting opportunity. And Gensel's just been a great find. And I think Gensel now is just starting to hit his stride a little bit with the Carolina Hurricanes. And maybe Marty Necas too. Why not? Marty Necas props for Carolina, especially when I see another Necas right now. For those of you into the NCAA tournament, there's a guy on Duquesne right now who might be upsetting BYU. They're leading late in that game. Jakob Necas plays for Duquesne. There's no relation, obviously, to Marty in the NHL, but obviously we've got a Necas in another sport that's a pretty damn good player as well. So there you go, a little Jakob Necas.
Teravainen is back, but he's on the fourth line. So they're keeping the top line the same, which is exactly what I wanted.
Yep.
But yeah, Teravainen is back. He's going to be on the fourth line, which is a very good fourth line. Konechny.
They haven't updated this shit then, RotoWire, because I still have him as out tonight.
Okay, no. Daily Faceoff has him as coming back.
Right.
Or sorry, on Twitter earlier I saw on Twitter I saw earlier that he's on the fourth line with Kotkaniemi and Lemieux. So
okay, well, I believe it. Yep.
Sam says in the chat he isn't playing, but I saw earlier on Twitter. We'll see if he is or not.
Bottom line is we got a little
the top line is the same
here. Keep an eye pregame skate. You'll know for sure if he's out there and what line with the line rushes 30 minutes before the game. But I don't think he's back personally, unless RotoWire.
People are saying he's out till Thursday. So I must have misread that tweet.
All right. We'll assume he's out, until further notice. But we go from this game to the next game, which to me is like a playoff game in the regular season. You know, it really is. The New York Islanders taking on the Detroit Red Wings. We've got the Islanders minus 115 road favorites here in this game at the Pizza Box, Little Caesars Arena. 6.5, the total shaded to the under in this game. What a comeback that was for Detroit the other night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Didn't look like they were going to get a point. You know, it looked like they were going to lose 3-2 in regulation to Columbus at home in what would have been just a dreadful loss. And sure enough, Lucas Raymond, who had 2 goals on the night, ties it up in the dying seconds. And then Patrick Kane, showtime, baby, in overtime to rescue 2 points for the Detroit Red Wings the other night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Can they ride that momentum here tonight against the New York Islanders? That ends up being the big question going into this game. The Islanders continue to struggle, continue to slump. The losing streak is now at 5 games, and I know they faced a pretty tough, rigid schedule. You know, the Ottawa loss was the one that you can't have. That's a bad one. But the other games, LA at the end of a road trip, pretty tough. Buffalo in a game that Buffalo was chomping at the bit for that game against the Islanders, knowing that, hey, we've got to try to catch this team. This is the team we got to track down. And then the Rangers and the Hurricanes, I mean, 2 of the best teams in the NHL. So it's been a tough schedule here for the New York Islanders for sure. We'll see if they can bounce back here against the Red Wings here tonight going into this matchup. It is worth noting that for Detroit going into this game, you look at their lineup scenarios moving forward. Of course, they've had all kinds of issues with the goaltending. And it all started with the absence of Husso, who continues to be out. But they've obviously become disillusioned with Alex Lyon right now, and rightfully so. I've been calling on Newsy Lalone, Derek Lalone, to give that guy a rest. Finally, he is, because James Reimer, for the first time in a while, is getting back-to-back starts in net for the Detroit Red Wings after he got the win against Columbus the other night. Ilya Sorokin will get the nod for the Islanders. Apparently, Patrick Waugh with some criticism, too, toward Ilya Sorokin, too, after the last game. And look, a lot of times the coaches are too harsh on the goalies. If there's any coach I'm going to give a break for being hard on his goaltender, it's Patrick Waugh. You're talking about one of the best fucking players at his position in the history of the sport, in the history of the league, okay? So if he wants to be tough on the goaltenders, I'm going to cut him a little more slack than, say, Tortorella or some other coach in the league. He played the position. He was a goaltender himself in the NHL, and he was pretty damn good at it. One of the best, of course, of all time as an NHL goaltender. So if he has trouble with the goalie and he wants to say something publicly about it, I'm not going to bemoan him or, criticize him for that like I would some other coaches. So This is one of the greats in the history of the NHL goaltender-wise, calling you out a little bit. So we'll see if Ilya Sorokin can rise to the occasion, because you're right. He's got to play better. The D has to play better for the Islanders. They got to start picking it up offensively again. The last 4 of the 5 losses during this losing streak of theirs, they've scored 2 goals or less. That's not going to win you many hockey games right now, especially when you need the points desperately, as the New York Islanders do. So this is a huge game for the Islanders tonight. Absolutely enormous to try to snap this losing streak. I don't trust them to do it. I don't want to jump on Detroit just yet either, though, because the Red Wings, look, let's be real. They almost lost in regulation to Columbus. It's not like I'm running to take Detroit here minus 105 either against an Islanders team that the urgency should be there and the coach getting upset. But I'm going to take the draw here with the Islanders and the Red Wings. We saw Detroit go to overtime against Columbus. We've seen Detroit, of course, play, a few close games lately. We know the Islanders have been Draw Island, and we've called them the Tylanders all season. Not so much lately. I mean, the only overtime game in their last 10 games was against Ottawa, but this does have the feel of a little bit of a draw to me going into this game, draw potential that we see this game go past regulation. And I do want to point out, and this is courtesy of the brilliance of Chris Otto with these charts here, that I know lately Detroit has been on quite the run with first period overs. And I was on one against Columbus the other night. I definitely like first period over. I think I like the bifecta here a little bit. Over 1.5 and over 6.5. I don't know about the trifecta. I'm not sold this is a both teams to score first period type of game, but I definitely like the first period over in this one. And I think for a little smaller bet, I'll jump in on that full game over 6.5 here as well. Although I might do what I did with Arizona Dallas yesterday, and that's get over 6 and lay a little bit of a bigger price rather than the 6.5. I think I might do that here for this game, because I think at Pinnacle you'll get a reasonable price with the over 6. Yeah, it's minus 118 at Pinnacle, over 6. So that's what I'll take. I don't want 6.5. 6 is better. So there we go. For me, the draw and an over bifecta. Over 1.5 first period, over 6 minus 118 full game. What do you think here, Terry? Islanders, Red Wings.
Well, I know Sabres and Caps fans don't want the draw here. Other teams competing for the Eastern playoffs definitely don't want to draw, but I can see why you're on it. It just has that feeling. Both of these teams are not playing well right now. Both of these teams are very desperate for a point in this game. I think if this game is tied in the third, you're going to see the best defensive effort we've ever seen from both teams, because they need to at least get a point in this game. Islanders have lost 5 in a row. Detroit's lost at 8 out of 10. The Islanders have played well against Detroit, 4-1-1 in the last 6 meetings. But for me, I can't get to a side here. However, this is one of my favorite games when it comes to props. Lucas Raymond, a goal in 5 games in a row. I've been on him for 3 games now. Plus 250. He's actually better to score tonight than he was in his last game, plus 250. And looking at it deeper, when Raymond has been scoring 4 of the last 5 games, his goal has been on the power play. Patrick Kane, he's got a point 5 games in a row, an assist in 4 of his last 5. Those 4 assists were all on the power play. What do we know about the Islanders? They have the worst penalty kill in the NHL at 71.4%. You can get Lucas Raymond to get a power play point plus 320. You can get Patrick Kane to get a power play point plus 210. Absolutely love both of those. And as well, Lucas Raymond anytime goal. Player props for me in this one. I want to see Detroit goals. Whoever wins, that's doesn't make a difference to me, but I want to see Detroit goals. I want to see some power play goals and cash some nice plus money props here.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some good props to me as well. For me, the Islanders, Kyle Palmieri has been very good. I've talked about his props lately. I mean, it's been tough sledding for them, obviously offensively. So I don't want to bet too many Islanders props tonight, but Detroit has been shaky defensively. Let's not forget that. So it might be an opportunity for the Islanders to get something going a little bit offensively. Palmieri, there's a value guide tonight too. Hudson Fasching for the New York Islanders. He had 2 shots on goal against Carolina. He's playing on the second line here tonight with Barzal and Lee, and we know what a playmaker Barzal is. And you can get Hudson Fasching on that line to score a goal at one hell of a price when he's got a good playmaking center, alongside him in Matthew Barzal on that second line tonight. So I really think there's a great value, in my opinion, here tonight. It looks like BetStamp's down. God damn it. All times for that to happen. It's when the show's going down. That's my price comparison tool, but can't give you these prices, unfortunately, on these props at the moment. But I'll tell you right now, Hudson Fasching for the New York Islanders, goal prop, you're going to get it north of plus 400 for sure. 100% you will. And it's going to be really, really good value there with him on the second line now with Barzal. And again, he had 2 shots on goal the other night. Detroit, no, 100% no argument with Lucas Raymond. He's on fire right now, playing on the top line, over 1.5 points, over 1.5 goals. You could even sprinkle on that, certainly to score 1 goal, and you can still get north of plus 200 on that. It's well worth a look. Comfort, Perron, and Raymond on the top line. Veleno's back down to the with DeBrincat and Kane. So keep an eye on that tonight in this game. But number one prop for me for sure, Lucas Raymond on the Detroit side, no question about that. Actually, does kind of feel to me too like Perron might chip in here tonight too, because we know he's a good power play guy, and the Islanders' penalty kill has not been good throughout the course of the season. So David Perron's a good power play guy. He might be a good prop tonight for the Red Wings as well.
I'm sure he's really high too.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's really high price for him.
Yeah, you'll get good value. Yeah, you'll get good value, I think, too. And again, a lot of his goals come with the peeper. So I think from that standpoint, you could end up seeing him cash in with that power play potentially tonight against that rather suspect Islander PK. All right, next up, a good matchup here. We've got the New York Rangers taking on the Boston Bruins. Boston minus 150 home favorites in this matchup, and the total currently at 6. 5.5 actually in most spots. So shop around, but there's a couple books that have 6, but most of them have a 5.5 here as far as the total in this matchup with the Rangers and the Bruins. When you look at the Bruins, they are starting to pick things up again. 5-1 in their last 6 games, and if you go back even further, 6-2 in their last 8. Really, it started with the 2 wins they notched against Toronto, and a tough loss in between against Edmonton. In overtime at home, but it was a winnable game. They beat Pittsburgh 5-1. They have that one bad game against St. Louis 5-1, but they bounced back and they've ripped off 3 straight wins against Montreal, Philly, and Ottawa. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here against the Rangers, albeit a much more difficult task this will be. It's only the 3rd meeting this year with these 2 teams, and the Rangers won both of the first 2 meetings, 7-4 at MSG, 2-1 in overtime in Boston. The last time these 2 teams met. So we'll see how this one plays out. You do have the Rangers here off the 4-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. And it's a Rangers team that you go back and you look at their recent results, and you go all the way back to January 26th. And their record off a loss, I'm counting it up right now, 3-1, 4-1, their last 5 tries off a loss. They're usually the kind of team when you're talking about these really good teams and they are off a game that, they didn't play that well, especially now when they're a plus 130 underdog. You don't really want to bet against that coming off a loss. Do I want to step in front of the Bruins? Bruins know too. Rangers have beaten them twice. And I'm sure they're in a spot here going into this game where they're thinking to themselves, you know what? Sick of losing to the New York Rangers. I think we want to bounce back here in this game. So I lean Rangers at the price. I'm not sure I'll pull the trigger. This is another draw sprinkle for me. We saw the game in Boston go to overtime, 2-1 earlier this season. So a little bit on the draw for me in this game. Looks like for goaltending in this matchup here with the Rangers and Bruins, it'll be Jonathan Quick and Jeremy Swayman. I'm going to grab the over here, just small, 5.5. Quick hasn't been lights out quite as much as he was, but he just has not been at that, phenomenal level I think we saw earlier in the season from Jonathan Quick. We'll see how he fares here in this game. Keep in mind, he's off that Pittsburgh game where he gave up 4, and it ended up being a 7-4 shootout. The Rangers beating the Penguins the last time we saw Jonathan Quick in net. He also gave up 4 to Columbus in a recent loss as well. So I think 5.5 here. We can get over the total. Keep in mind, it was over 5.5 with the Jets and the Rangers the other night. And like I said, if you're betting the under, it kind of felt like an under game, but be careful. 5.5 is a tricky total to go under these days in the NHL. And that's exactly what we saw in that game. So I'd probably lean. I probably will have at least a small bet here on this over at 5.5, given the goalie matchup, given the fact that I think both offenses too, in better form the last few games. The Rangers have been scoring. I mean, they only scored 2 against the Jets, but before that, we saw them put 3, 7, and 5 on the board in the games before that. Meanwhile, Boston, they have scored 4 goals or more, the Bruins, in 4 of their last 6 games. So their offensive form's been pretty good. 4 against Toronto, 5 against Pittsburgh, and then back-to-back games with 6 goals on the board against the Senators and the Flyers. So at 5.5, I'm in as far as the over's concerned. What do you think here in this one, Terry? Great matchup, Rangers-Bruins.
Well, I wasn't on the total, but you just talked me into it, Ian, to jump on the over 5.5 here too, because it is such a low number.
Yeah.
And then both of these goalies giving up goals. Swayman's given up 4 goals in back-to-back games.
That's true. Yep.
So
And he's been better all
given up
season
goals
for the
too.
most part than Allmark. But you're right. Even with Jeremy Swayman, who's the starter tonight for the Bruins, not nearly as sharp in his last few outings. Yep.
And Boston, 3 games they've won in a row. Montreal, Philly, and Ottawa. This is going to be a big step up here from the teams they've been facing. This Rangers team off a loss. My only play, well, now I'll be adding the over too, but my play here is Rangers money line. Just to get this team off a loss. It wasn't an embarrassing loss, 4-2, but at home, and you lost that game, and they just weren't in it. The Jets were the more hungry team. I think the Rangers come out hungry here in this one. Boston has been beating some bad teams here, and Philly. I guess they're a playoff team, so you can't call them a bad team. But I think this is going to be a big step up. I think the Rangers get the win here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to overtime as well. This game has like a 4-4 feeling to it. I think you're right on the money with the over there. Are you muted?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. 6.5. I don't touch the total, but you're going to give me a 5.5 here in this game with the offensive uptick both teams have had recently. I'm going to get involved. And just like I'm going to get involved in Pavel Zacha props again. 7-game point streak for him, goal prop, assist prop. I think both of them are worth a look here in this game. Jake DeBrusk has, how many points does he have? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 points in the last 6 games. He might even be worth an over 1.5 point sprinkle tonight. Jake DeBrusk with the points he's been putting up here of late for the Boston Bruins. And Aaron's right in the chat about the Bruins. The reason why their offense has been better lately, depth scoring. Danton Heinen, I'm going to sprinkle on his prop tonight. 3 points in 3 straight games, 2 goals in the last 3 games for Danton Heinen. And he right now has a second-line role for the Bruins at the moment. Jim Montgomery has him with Zacha and Pasternak. So he's going to get great opportunity, Danton Heinen, and you're getting great value right now with his props in this game and moving forward with him on that line. We've talked about Morgan Geekie a lot as well, and how just a nice pickup he's been, and he's produced way more offensively than you would think. How about the night that the young, well, I shouldn't say young, he's a rookie, but he's 26 years old. He's been toiling away in the minors for a lot. But Justin Brazeau here for the Bruins, he had a 2-goal game the other night. Maybe, why not? A couple bucks on that. It's a confident kid. He's been noticeable out there. And then as far as the Rangers go, their props have been pretty consistent for me as to, they haven't had a ton of changes with the lineup. Roslovic's back with Zibanejad and Kreider. So he's probably got some value. Lafreniere's continuing to play well. Trocheck, I've mentioned him. Those would be the main ones here. Here's one, too, that might be a little sneaky. 3 points, 3 games in a row with a point, and he got his first goal with the Rangers against the Jets. Maybe Alex Wenberg on that third-line center spot. When I see something like that, I think it's a bet-on situation. He's kind of had a little monkey on his back here in the first several games with the Rangers. Finally gets that first goal with his new team the other night, and then sometimes that leads to greater offensive success in the subsequent games moving forward. So I definitely think he might be worth a look as far as props go. A little momentum type of bet there as far as Alex Wenberg goes for the New York Rangers here tonight in this game. All right, next up, this could be, we talk about Rangers Bruins is one of the games of the night. So is this one. The Nashville Predators take their traveling red hot road show into Florida to take on the Florida Panthers. We've got Florida around a minus 180 home favorite here in this game. The total currently sitting at 6, shaded to the over in this matchup. What a job the Nashville Predators have done. The point streak, we know, continues. It's been an absolutely brilliant run of hockey for them, and it started with the U2 concert that Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette put the kibosh on, and ever since then, they've been on this remarkable 15-game point streak that they are on right now. And by the way, the Predators, they have the record tying 15-game point streak. They are looking tonight for a franchise record 16-game point streak. 16-game point streak would be the franchise record for the Nashville Predators. Never before in Nashville Predators history have they had a point in 16 straight games. Well, that's on the line here tonight against the Florida Panthers in this game. Florida, meanwhile, all of a sudden here looking a little human. Losing 2 in a row. They get shut out by Carolina 4-0. Lose 5-3 to the Tampa Bay Lightning in their last game at home, where they got off to that rough start. Tampa jumped on them. And I remember what I said on Saturday about that game. Tampa Bay was embarrassed by Florida 9-2 at home the previous month. And Tampa Bay played like a team that wanted redemption on Saturday against Florida. And they played well. Look, Florida had been rolling along like a freight train for a good 2 months or so. Just rolling along, not a single bad game, very few losses, just rolling along, playing excellent hockey. But God, it is very difficult to sustain that for a full 82 games. You're eventually, for as good as you are, you're eventually going to have a little dip in your performance. It has to happen. You just cannot be like a machine and just beat teams night in and night out, especially when you play the style Florida plays, where they are just constantly in your face, hard hitting, physical. It's a very demanding, taxing style to play, Florida. It really is. And finally, I think we're seeing them maybe hit a little bit of a physical and not a mental block, but I think a little physical block right now. There's still a lot to play for Florida. They're battling Boston for first in the Atlantic Division right now, but they've looked a little human lately. We have seen a dip in their play. We've seen a dip even in Bobrovsky's play just a little slightly. Aaron Ekblad's absence doesn't help. He's out, and they miss him, although and Kulikov, too, is out. So suddenly you have a third pair of Josh Mahura, who's serviceable, and Uvis Balinskis here, the Latvian defender, who's going to draw into the lineup tonight for Florida with Kulikov out. So test the depth a little bit. Alexander Barkov, by the way, the captain, questionable game time decision for this game. He was on the ice for practice, apparently, so that gives you a hint that he might be good to go tonight, but it hasn't been confirmed just yet on the Florida side of it. We'll see how this one goes. Now, it is worth noting for Nashville, even you would think there's a huge game, right? UC Saros in net. No. In fact, it's Kevin Lankinen who's going to get the start here for the Nashville Predators in this game, going up against Sergei Bobrovsky in this matchup. But I will say this, he'll get his first start in 5 games and only his second start in the last 10 games here for the Predators. But he's suddenly been very good the last few starts. He's won his last 3 games. He's only given up 6 goals on the last 91 shots he's faced. And his overall numbers for the season are still a little bit subpar. 3 goals against, .897 save percentage. But if you actually look at Lankinen here in the last 3 appearances he's made in net for Nashville, the numbers are pretty damn good. 1 goal allowed on 35 shots against Columbus, 2 goals allowed in a win against Anaheim. Pretty solid effort, 3 goals allowed in a 5-3 win against Vegas before that. So he is on a 3-game win streak, Lankinen, here in net for the Nashville Predators. So even though he's going up against Bobrovsky, who's been obviously had a great year overall, it's definitely a situation where, Lankinen's been better and Bobrovsky has been good all year. But you look now at the last couple, there's been a couple minor hiccups here. 4 goals allowed to Tampa, 3 goals allowed to Carolina, 3 goals allowed to Dallas. So he's given up 10 goals in his last 3 starts. So it's not terrible, but it's not that brick wall Bobrovsky that we maybe saw earlier for much of the season. So I hate to do this because I love my Panthers. You know that. But I've also said all season long that I love my Panthers, especially on the road, where they've been awesome. They've been lights out. Not that they've been bad at home, but the Florida Panthers, have more road wins than home wins. They're 24 wins on the road, 21 at home. They've actually been better on the road this year. I think they're at least a little more vulnerable at home. We'll see if Barkov plays. But with this streak going on with Nashville, give me the dog and the draw here in this game. Nashville plus 150, the draw. Look, if this streak continues, I can't lose both bets, because if this point streak goes to 16 and the Predators set the franchise record for the consecutive game point streak, then there's no possible way for me to lose both of those bets tonight. Nashville plus 150 in the draw, because the game has to go to overtime for the point streak to continue. And even if Nashville loses in overtime or a shootout, we're still going to cash the draw and the point streak's still going to continue. So, and this matters to them. I've seen Yossi talk about it in an interview the last 24 hours. I've seen Forsberg mention it. Brunette against his old team too. Let's not forget that. He's going back to Florida, the team that threw him under the bus 2 years ago, that put all the blame on getting swept by Tampa on his shoulders, saying, it was Brunette's fault the power play stunk for Florida after it was good all year. No, nothing about how the players didn't execute. No, they just basically, ran Brunette right over with the train, with the bus for that exit 2 years ago. He got fired. They didn't keep him after he took over from Quenneville that season. And now, look, it's worked out swimmingly because Paul Maurice has been phenomenal for them. But still, I mean, going back to Florida, the team that didn't retain you, you got to believe Andrew Brunette's going to want it, and the players are going to know about that whole situation with Brunette down there in Florida. So, like I say, I think we have a live dog. They're just playing too well right now to be giving this price, and we've seen enough of a dip and enough of a blip in Florida's performance the last few games where I think, Nashville's got a shot here. Plus 150, and I'm also going to look toward the draw as well. What do you think here, Terry? Nashville, Florida.
Yeah, I love this Florida Panthers team too. I mentioned earlier on a show, I believe, that I have Florida to win the cup, and I'm not a futures better. I don't really bet very many futures, but I did bet the Panthers to win the cup. That being said, I have to take the Predators at this price. It's the price that they're at here, plus 150. This team has been so consistent over this point streak. They are playing consistently every single game. The Panthers here, not looking so good the last few games. Bobrovsky definitely a reason why. One of the reasons why. The defense hasn't looked so good the last few games. Barkov may or may not play. Even if he does play, he's obviously not 100%. And then it was mentioned that Matthew Tkachuk will play. So if it's being mentioned that he'll play, he's likely dealing with something as well. So Florida's dealing with injuries here, not playing very well. They have to face this Predators team that is just so consistent. And I'm getting plus 150. No, I don't like to fade the Florida Panthers, but I have to with the Predators in this situation at this price. Thomas Novak over half a point. Continue to bet him. He's plus 120 here in this game. I'll take him here to get a point. And then, of course, the coaching angle too. That's definitely something, as Ian said, the Predators know what happened here with the Panthers. So I love the Predators here. Plus 150. One of the rare times that I'll fade Florida is tonight.
Yeah, it's. I think it's like I say, it's a good price. I also want to point out, do you know who's won in Florida back-to-back times? Nashville, 6-4 2 years ago, 2-1 last year when they made the trip to Florida. So they've actually played well in this building the last couple of years, the Nashville Predators. So yeah, I think in this spot, with them looking for the franchise record consecutive game point streak, it's worth a shot for me at this price. And yes, as far as props, the same players, you can regurgitate them, recycle them. Forsberg, O'Reilly, Nyquist. I'd even throw in Evangelista. I'd throw in Mark Jankowski, my guy from Dundas here, who's been amazing for the Predators lately. He's actually been really good, and he's got chemistry with Novak and on that line. So Novak, as Terry mentioned, worth a look. And then for Florida, I would look toward tonight. In this game, maybe a little Evan Rodriguez, who's moved up a little bit to the second line. There's some options there. Keep an eye on that. Reinhart, is leveled off a little bit, but obviously he still had a tremendous season for the Florida Panthers. Make no mistake about it. But yeah, those are the main props here for me. And if you're going to look at blue liners again with Florida, with Ekblad out, you want to look at Ekman Larson and Montour. They're getting a lot of the minutes. They're getting the power play minutes as well right now for the Florida Panthers. So those are definitely the defensemen that are probably going to yield you the best potential return, as far as profits go. All right, next up, we've got the Buffalo Sabres taking on the Edmonton Oilers. We've got Edmonton minus 230, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. You've got Edmonton coming off a narrow 3-2 victory against the Montreal Canadiens in overtime the other night, but they got the win. That's what good teams do. Even maybe didn't play your best, but you won, and that's what good teams are supposed to do. They wrap up this 4-game homestand where they've gone 2-1 so far. The loss being to Colorado in overtime here tonight against Buffalo. Then they go on the road. They face Toronto. They go on a Canadian road trip: Toronto, Ottawa, and Winnipeg. After this, the Edmonton Oilers. Buffalo, meanwhile, off a 3-2 loss to Vancouver as they try to keep their playoff hopes alive. It's been certainly a very good month for the Sabres here. We'll see if they can continue here tonight in this game. But I saw enough out of Edmonton the other night against Montreal where they needed overtime to escape the Canadiens in that game, where this might be a dangerous game for Edmonton. I mean, Buffalo is playing with nothing to lose. They've got to get points. They're off that loss to Vancouver. Looks like as far as the goaltending tonight, it's Stuart Skinner confirmed in net for Edmonton. We should see UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, pick the pack of pickled peppers in net for the, I love doing that, in net for the Buffalo Sabres. Of course, we rhymed off the numbers in a recent show since late December, where he's like top 5, top 10 in goals saved above average and save percentage and all these stats. He's just been excellent, really, since the turn of the new year. I'm going to take a shot with the Sabres here. Not only the Sabres, but I'm going to go split it up 3 different ways here with Buffalo tonight. First period money line, full game money line, and I'm also going to sprinkle on this team total. Over 2.5 at around like minus 105, minus 110 on Buffalo in this game. Now, I think they could take this one. The Oilers, too, have Toronto coming up to start this road trip. Hockey night in Canada. Everyone's going to talk McDavid and Draisaitl against Matthews and Nylander, and they're going to hype it up like this huge matchup coming up on Saturday night with the Oilers and the Leafs. So this is a spot for the Sabres to sneak up on Edmonton and maybe steal one here against the Edmonton Oilers now, before they hit the road for this road trip with a big game against the Toronto Maple Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday. So I think Buffalo's a live dog here, and I think they've played competitively enough of late, and they've started to look like last year's team where they were able to beat some good teams. Like they beat Vegas 7-2, and they already beat Edmonton in a shootout back home in Buffalo earlier this month, 3-2. So you could say a little revenge for Edmonton, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure Edmonton cares all that much about, we got to avenge that loss to Buffalo. I don't think they think that way. They just think of it as another game. These guys are fucking robots anyway, Leon, and especially Connor McDavid. You listen to them, it's like listening to a robot. No emotion, and it's just, say the same shit after every game. So I think it's a live dog. Buffalo, you got a team that's playing in their best form of the year, that needs points desperately, that's been ultra competitive lately, and you give them at a plus 190 price to me, I'm going to take it. What do you think here, Terry? Buffalo, Edmonton.
Yeah, this is one of the few games where I don't really have too much here, really to say about this one. Buffalo, very attractive price with them as the dog here, and I definitely think they'll put up a good performance. I could see Edmonton squeaking by a win here, so this game is tough for me. Player props, Tage Thompson is on fire right now, 0.5 of his last 6 games. Evan Bouchard assist would be some, if I was going to play something here, it'd be Bouchard assist. He's got one in 4 games in a row. I'm not sure the price on that, but Yeah, not one of my favorite games here on the slate, this one.
All right, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, as far as props go for this game tonight, Buffalo, I'm going to, Benson again, Cousins, Tuck, Thompson, and Paterka are now the top line, and I find they've really been starting to get things going a little bit too for the Sabres. So, and then for Edmonton, we've got Connor McDavid, Vander Kane is on the top line again, so there could be some value with a Vander Kane with McDavid and Hyman here tonight in this game. I mentioned Fogle and McLeod with Draisaitl could be worth a look as well as far as props go. You mentioned Bouchard, and you're right, that Bouch bomb, always dangerous, no question about that. So definitely some decent props to consider here for this game with the Sabres and the Oilers. All right, next up here, and by the way, like I said, I'm splitting it up with this game. So it's going to be a little first period and money line, full game money line, and the team total over for Buffalo here in this game. And I should point out there was the Nashville game that we talked about as well. That's also a game where a plus 150 and the draw, but also a little portion of the plus 150 money line will be on the team total for Nashville. I'm starting to do that lately where it's take a little team total as well. Don't just put it all on the money line. All right, next up we've got, and I believe that team total too for Nashville is 2.5. It is. It's 2.5 minus 120. So it's a good team total price there for the Preds. All right, Montreal and Vancouver. We've got the Vancouver Canucks minus 275 home favorites in this game. The total currently at 6.5, shaded to the under. Should be an interesting matchup here. Montreal, hard-fought effort against Edmonton the other night, losing in overtime. We'll see if they can give another tough game to another pretty good hockey team here, the Vancouver Canucks tonight in this one. I think when you look at this matchup, Vancouver, they're trying to get some consistency back in their game, and they've really, really focused on the defensive end of the ice during this stretch where, trying to get back on track. And, they've really done a nice job of it. Going back to the start of the road trip, other than the Colorado loss where they had the lead and they kind of blew it in that game, since that time, we've seen, the Canucks give up 2 goals or less to their opponent now in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their last 7 games. They're playing some damn good defensive hockey again. And keep in mind, many of this they've done without Thatcher Demko, who of course remains out for the Canucks, and it's been Casey DeSmith in all of these games for Vancouver. And we expect him in net again tonight. It'll be Samuel Montembeault for Montreal. Joshua Waugh, unfortunately, is out for Montreal tonight. And I say unfortunately because he's played pretty well for the Montreal Canadiens of late, chipping in offensively, playing well from that second line spot, but he will not be in the lineup tonight for Montreal. So that's unfortunate the way the kid had been playing well. Looks like Montreal is going to put Harvey Pinard in that spot with Newhook and Armia, which means Harvey Pinard becomes a guy with some value tonight for Montreal in that second line spot. Caulfield with Suzuki and Slavkovsky remains the top line for Montreal. This is a game I don't have too much on. Vancouver's playing a lot of one-goal hockey on this homestand since the Winnipeg win. And since the Anaheim game to start the road trip, they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-goal games in their last 7 games. I don't hate the draw. I don't hate splitting on, sprinkling on the draw, quite honestly, in this game. Because Montreal did put up a nice battle against Edmonton. They took Boston to overtime. They've gone to overtime or a shootout 5 times in the last 9 games, the Montreal Canadiens. So I might put a couple bucks on the draw here. Other than that, I'm going to look more toward props. I mentioned Harvey Pinard for Montreal, Slavkovsky for Montreal, and then for Vancouver, Höglander with Pettersson, value. Connor Garland has great value right now. He was moved up to the top line, promoted to the top line against Buffalo, and on his first game up there with Pettersson, he scores a goal. He has 4 shots on goal. So Connor Garland, definitely, I think, as one of the great prop looks tonight, in my opinion, up on that top line with Elias Pettersson and Niels Höglander and Pius Suter on the second line. I think there's a little value, too, playing with JT Miller and Brock Besser for Vancouver tonight. Terry, what do you think here? Montreal, Vancouver.
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting. The teams right now, both teams are really under teams right now. Montreal's gone under 5.5 in 5 of their last 6. Vancouver's gone under 5.5 in 6 of their last 7. So these two teams are just under teams right now. But 5 of the last 6 meetings between them have all gone over 6.5. So total wise, are we going to see recent play or are we going to see past history win?
This is the fucking same discussion we had a couple days ago with Montreal Edmonton. We said Montreal Edmonton, a lot of overs in the series history, and it stayed under because the form was telling you it could be a low scoring game. And I kind of feel that way about this game. The series history is pointing over, but I don't know if I want to be betting Vancouver over right now.
Yeah, and even with Thatcher Demko out, Vancouver's still plugging along 4-1-1 in their last 6. Or sorry, 5-1-1 in their last 7. The Canucks are playing well. They've won 4 of the last 5 between these teams, but minus 275. That's not something I would ever lay as a single bet, and definitely not something I would ever recommend. So it's tough to bet the Canucks here. Ultimately, I'm on one prop, and it's a Canadians prop. Surprisingly, Uri Slafkovsky over half a point. He's hot again. He's got a point in 5 games in a row. He did this earlier on, around the new year, I believe, where he got hot and went on a point streak, went cold for a bit. But he's got a point in 5 games in a row, plus 105, I believe, for him to get a point. So I'll take that here. Quinn Hughes has a point 6 of his last 7. That's a good parlay piece. But other than that, not a whole lot for me here in this one.
All right. Nothing wrong with that on a big card. It's okay to have a game where you don't feel as strongly about it. And that's this game here for Terry. All right. Chicago and Anaheim. Oh, game of the night right here. Being facetious, of course. Anaheim minus 120 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. Blackhawks just got absolutely bludgeoned in LA the other night by the LA Kings. They'll look to bounce back from that here. Second leg of this road trip against the Anaheim Ducks, who, man, it's been bad for Anaheim. 7 straight losses for them. We'll see how they fare here in this game tonight. It looks like as far as goaltending goes, they've already confirmed Lucas Dostal in net for the Anaheim Ducks. It's such a huge goalie advantage for Anaheim tonight. Dostal has been better than Gibson. We've talked about that. Arvid Soderblom is in net for Chicago, and we all know how much we don't trust him and how much we don't think much of him, including our very own Alex B. Smith, who will be back, by the way, on Saturday with us. Alex B. Smith, our Blackhawks fan, he does not want Soderblom with this team any longer. He's been absolutely dreadful this year. He's given up 4 goals in back-to-back starts to LA and to Arizona. He has 4.02 goals against average and an .876 save percentage this season. Those are absolutely awful numbers. To be honest with you, I think this is the spot for Anaheim to snap the losing streak here and maybe win, because Dostal's just such a better goalie right now. But they can't get out of their own way. Their offense has been kind of up and down. And the one thing that concerns me about Dostal is some of his form. February and early March, he was really consistent, 3 goals or less every single start. Now here, all of a sudden, the last couple, 6 goals allowed to the Islanders, 4 goals allowed the last time he started against St. Louis. So it hasn't been nearly as sharp. He hasn't been nearly as sharp. He hasn't been nearly as phenomenal in between the pipes the last couple starts. So I think I might talk myself into first period full game over split, quite honestly, with the Blackhawks and the Ducks. With this Anaheim team, how much they've struggled defensively. They've given up 4, 4, 6, and 7. They've actually going back to the Dallas game, March 8th. That's their last 7 games during this losing streak. They've given up 4 or more in 6 of the 7 losses. So they have not been good defensively. And look, Gibson was in for many of them, but Dostal was in for a couple of them as well. And like I said, we've seen Dostal even give up, 4 goals in a couple of starts recently. You got 2 teams not making the playoffs. It was pond hockey with these 2 teams when they played in Chicago just recently, 7-2. Chicago won that game at home. I lean Anaheim here, but I don't know if I've got the stomach in me to lay minus 120 with a team that's lost 7 in a row. But I do feel it's a Duck spot here to finally maybe snap the losing streak, because they do have the edge in net. I do like the over by Fecta here in this game. We'll go over 1.5 first period. And I think we'll also go with the full game over. And the full game over, too, by the way, I should point out, Pinnacle, you're going to get that good price on it. 6 is the widely available number in this game, but you'll be able to, I think, get 5.5 at a decent price. Let me just confirm if that is indeed true. That's not as good as I thought. Minus 134. I might stick to 6. I might stick to over 6 here. Minus 110 in that price range. Yeah, minus 134 at Pinnacle is the price for the over 5.5. I'm not sure I would buy it down to 5.5 at that price. I might just stick with the 6. But yeah, over by Fecta here for me primarily. Lean Anaheim, but I don't think I want to lay a price with this group, even with the better goalie. What do you think here, Terry? Chicago, Anaheim.
Yeah, well, I was hoping for Mrazek. If Peter Mrazek was in today, then I was going to bet on every single Central Division opponent of the Wilds. Somehow, I was going to be betting on every single one of them. But I cannot bet the Hawks to win with Soderblom in net. I can't do it. I cannot recommend someone to do that. Now, that being said, the Hawks are 10-1-1 in the last 12 games between these teams. For some reason, they've owned the Ducks. The Ducks have lost 7 games in a row, all by multiple goals. They're just playing awful hockey right now. The Hawks, 4-3 in their last 7. They're losing to bad teams, but this Anaheim team, Arizona, and San Jose, the Hawks have been smashing lately. So how I look at this one, we talked about the Islanders penalty kill, while the Anaheim Ducks are right there. 73.2% penalty kill, the third worst in the NHL. You can get Connor Bedard to get a power play point at plus 175. I'm on that. And I'm also on a same game parlay, Connor Bedard to get a point and Philip Kurashev to get a point, plus 115. They obviously play on the same line. They've been scoring together, as most of the time happens when you're on the same line. So plus 115 play there, and then Connor Bedard plus 175 to get a power play point against this Ducks penalty kill, which is just awful. I want to bet the Hawks, but I'm not going to with Soderblom in net. And for me to say I want to bet the Hawks, that should say a lot, because I despise the Blackhawks. So there you go.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna definitely stick with the over by Fecta. I actually might take a small bet on Anaheim. Because look, this has got to be the game they get out of this losing streak. They're at home. They got destroyed by Chicago, and that game got nasty. It got rough. It got physical. That was the game Mrazek and Gibson almost threw down, almost went at it in a goalie fight in that game in Chicago. So, yeah, I'm gonna. God, that sickens me to say I'm going to lay minus 120 with a team on a 7-game losing streak, but I'm going to do it. It's got to be a spot for Anaheim. If they're going to do it, it's got to be tonight. Snap the losing streak, get back on track, win against this bad, horrendous goaltender, Arvid Soderblom, here tonight in net for the Chicago Blackhawks. So, yeah, as far as props go, I do think we'll see some goals. So I definitely do think we'll see some opportunities as far as props. A lot of the players that Terry mentioned, I don't argue with it. Foligno, Bedard, Kurashev. Lucas Reichel's back with the team. I've said that before and tried to take a chance with him, and he still does dick all. But he is back with Tyler Johnson and Andreas Athanasiou on the second line for Chicago. And then for Anaheim, look, I know offense has also been hard to come by. They've been shut down the last few games, but McTavish, I agree. It feels like a night for him. Maybe Frank the Tank Petrano gets going. Terry Carlson or Killorn in particular has been someone that for the last few weeks has been starting to get it ramped up a little offensively. So certainly look in those directions as far as player props are concerned. Unfortunately, our guy Matt Robinson won't be able to join us today. The meeting and the training session, it's a combo of both, are still going on. It's his new job today, so it is what it is. He might join us, though, on the weekend for a bonus episode, even though Tuesdays and Thursdays is his normal day. So stay tuned for that. Next up, we've got Seattle and Vegas. We've got the Golden Knights minus 190 home favorites. The total 6 here in this game between the Kraken and the Knights. It's full-blown fade Seattle City for me right now, Terry. I mean, it's just, I think they're done. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the performance on the ice. I don't like the offense drying up. I think their defensive game has kind of taken a hit lately as well. They're giving up goals. The penalty kill is struggling right now for the Seattle Kraken at this point in time. And I cashed an easy one with Buffalo Monday night best bet winner on the show against Seattle. I think it's a team to fade as long as the opportunity is reasonable. Now, again, it's minus 190 here with Vegas at home in this point in time. But you got Vegas off a loss to Tampa Bay the other night, losing 5-3 to the Lightning. So they've got them in a bounce back spot here. Again, I just have not liked what I've seen from the Kraken. Vegas has won each of the last 2 meetings here at T-Mobile Arena against Seattle. 4-1 wins both times. In fact, they've dominated the Kraken since Seattle joined the league. 8-2 head-to-head for Vegas over this Seattle team. I'm going to do a split here, a 3-way split with Vegas, 3 different ways. We're going to go with first period puck line, -0.5, plus 160. We're going to go with regulation for Seattle, or so for Vegas in regulation as well here in this game. So, yeah, I'm on a lot. I often talk about the draw. I don't think so in this game. I think Vegas can get it done in 60 minutes. So, first period puck line, Vegas in regulation around -110 at Pinnacle. I'm also going to get in a little bit on the Vegas team total, over 3.5 here, plus 110. Again, this is a Vegas team that has scored 4 goals each of the last 2 times they've hosted the Seattle Kraken here at T-Mobile Arena. So there we go, a little 3-way split here with the Vegas Golden Knights against a team that I think is mentally and physically, I think they're spent and they're shot right now because they certainly are playing like it, the Seattle Kraken. So Vegas first period puck line, Vegas in regulation, -110. Vegas team total, over 3.5, plus 110. What do you think here, Terry? Seattle, Vegas.
This is one of the tough ones for me. I agree with you about Seattle. They were kind of there in the race, and then you lose 5 in a row, and then that's just it. At this point of the year, that's it. I think the players know that, which means they're probably not going to be super motivated in this game. But you never know. Teams do play spoilers on certain nights. For me here with this, the Vegas Golden Knights, I just don't want to lay this price with them right now. Just not playing consistently enough for me to lay the puck line with them. So not one of my favorite games, this one. As Rocco mentioned in the chat, Shea Theodore assist. He's been getting 5 games in a row with an assist for Theodore. He's been pretty consistent. 11 of his last 13 games, he has an assist in as well. So he's been getting assists. You can get that, I saw, for -110 at Bet365. I don't know if you can get a plus money price in that. If I can get plus money for it somewhere else, I'll probably jump on Shea Theodore assist because 5 games in a row, 11 of his last 13. If Vegas is going to score some here, which they should for sure, I like Theodore to find an assist in this one.
I had Akron Creighton over 140 in this fucking college game. Now, I shouldn't complain too much. I had Duquesne plus the points and a little sprinkle on the money line. But this Akron Creighton game, like they had like 50 points almost halfway through the first half, and it stayed under somehow. That's tough. Tough one. Tough one to lose that one. Welcome to March Madness, folks. Crazy things can happen. But anyway, getting back to hockey, Seattle and Vegas here. Yeah, I just think it's we pinpointed it, or I have at least the last couple games. I mean, I took Nashville against Seattle, cashed a ticket. Took Buffalo against Seattle, cashed a ticket. And the one thing about both of those losses for the Kraken is that when things started to go south in both of those games, they never got the game back on track. They never did. It just did not. It just continued to go poorly for them. So when they get punched in the mouth, they're not punching back right now. And from a mental standpoint, that's a concern. And now they're in a spot, they're double-digit points out of the playoffs, and I think they know it. I think they now know it internally. Like, it's not happening for us this season. I think it's tough to reconcile that. Yeah, as far as the correct score prop, I think Alan mentioned it. I don't hate that. 4-1 Vegas. That's the exact score that they've beaten Seattle each of the last 2 times here at T-Mobile Arena. It was 4-1 Vegas over Seattle in this building, April 2023. And it was 4-1 Vegas against Seattle, October 10th. I believe that was the first game of the season. Yeah, 4-1. Back in October, Vegas won in this building. So the 4-1 correct score, Vegas might be worth a shot here in this game. And then as far as props go, mostly Vegas props. I don't know how much scoring Seattle's going to, even though, Vegas has been, struggling a little bit. Vegas is another team too. I want to keep taking overs with Vegas, but I just don't know if Seattle offensively is going to take advantage of Vegas's defensive struggles and Aiden Hill's downturn. I just don't. So that's the concern. It's not going to be Aiden Hill, by the way, of course, tonight. It's Logan Thompson for the Golden Knights. Vince Dunn still without him in the lineup. They're now 1-5, in the 6 games without him. So we've talked about how big of a loss that is for Seattle on the blue line. So I don't know how many player props I want to take right now with the Seattle Kraken. But for Vegas, there's a couple that do stand out when I look at it. Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault, I know is the top line, but you've got Stevenson, Juan, Mantha have good value on the second line. Carlson and Amadio have been players that have been able to perform and produce offensively from the third line. So keep an eye on that. And again, I think for Vegas off the loss to Tampa Bay, it's an opportunity for them to put their foot down. Talent, personnel-wise, roster-wise, this is a roster that's still very much good enough to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Now, their form has not looked like it, in the last few games, but last several games. But this is an opportunity to take down a moribund team that's down and out, and it feels like they're wobbling right now, the Kraken. So we'll see if Vegas can take advantage of that here tonight. All right, we have reached the final game of this huge Thursday card, Tampa Bay Lightning and the San Jose Sharks. We've got Tampa Bay upwards of -400. The price is actually going up. People are laying this big price here with Tampa Bay, upwards of -400 as road favorites in this game, 6.5 being the total, Lightning and Sharks. San Jose gets absolutely destroyed by Nashville the other night, 8-2. It was a beatdown in that game, and they're really stuck right now, San Jose, because they've had all kinds of issues in goal. Now, there's good news, though, tonight for the San Jose Sharks, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Mackenzie fucking Blackwood to the rescue. Yes, Mackenzie Blackwood is back from injury, and he is starting in net for the San Jose Sharks tonight. I never would have believed that. Oh my gosh, the Sharks goaltending has been so bad lately that they cannot wait for Mackenzie Blackwood to get back in between the pipes for them. And yet here we are. They are in that mode where, they are happy to see him back in the lineup, because it's just been a disaster with Magnus Krona. And then you got Devin Cooley, who's just not ready for the NHL right now. So we'll see. But again, this is a guy that's been out for a long time. How will he fare in his first start back in a long time? He has not started in a game, Blackwood, since February 27th, almost a month ago. We'll see how he fares here in his first start back against suddenly a red-hot Tampa Bay team, that's really put a nice little stretch of hockey together in the last several games. They're on a 4-game win streak. Their offense is just on fire right now. 5 goals or more in 4 straight games during this win streak. 7, 13, 18, 23 goals in the last 4 games by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Power plays on fire. They've had 6 power play goals during this 4-game win streak. Their even strength play has picked up, and everybody's contributing. It's obviously the big Braden Point's been ridiculous. Kucherov all season's been amazing. They're getting something from Hagel, Cirelli, and Stamkos. Paul's chipping in. And, of course, the new guy who they got from this team they're playing tonight at the deadline, Anthony Duclair, who is one of the better goal props the last few games in the entire league. It continues to produce right now for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, and Tampa Bay is another one of these teams that from a first period over standpoint, they are on one hell of a run, as far as first period overs are concerned. This one's pricey, but I'm going to roll with it anyway. Over 1.5, -150. First period over. I definitely like the bifecta. I like over 6.5 because I do believe Tampa Bay, even with Blackwood back, Blackwood is the best they've got in net, but that's not saying much. And I think his first start back could be a little rusty. It's been a while since he's played, and what a welcome back. You got to play this Tampa Bay team that is playing as well offensively, as they have all season. So I like the over bifecta in this game for sure. Over 1.5, over 6.5. And by the way, we've seen in the last 5 meetings between these two teams. 4 of them have had at least 6 goals. 3 of them have had at least 7. And like I said, with Tampa Bay, they've been an over machine lately. That's now 6 straight games for them have gone over the total entering this matchup tonight against the San Jose Sharks. So over by Fecta for sure. I mean, Tampa Bay team total's pricey, so I'm staying off that. And I'm also staying off that because I think San Jose, crazy as it is to say, they might be able to chip in a little bit here offensively because they're going to be embarrassed by the Nashville performance. It's probably going to be Vasilevsky, but we don't know that yet for sure. We'll have to wait and see on that. Tampa Bay does not play tomorrow night. Okay, so they're off till Saturday against LA after this. So I do think it probably will be Vasilevsky, but I do think, Sharks get 2 goals. I don't see this game staying under the total because I think Tampa Bay could probably get 5 tonight. And again, they've scored at least 5 in all games during this 4-game win streak that they're on right now. So just the over by Fecta for me right now. Over 1.5 first period, over 6.5 full game. What do you think here, Terry? Tampa Bay, San Jose.
Yeah, I was expecting, I said in my show earlier that I was expecting Vasilevsky to get the night off here in this one. It's the Sharks. Why not give him a rest? But he's listed as likely. So it looks like he was the first off the morning skate. Looks like he's going to start. So I would give Vasilevsky the night off myself. But hey, he's going to be in net for this one. Doesn't change my play in this game though. Tampa Bay 5-1 of their last 6 games in a row, over 6.5. They are just firing on all cylinders right now. Now they get to face a team that's lost 14 of their last 15 games. The Sharks, if anybody's looking towards golf season, it's the Sharks. I'm sure their tee times are already booked for the first day after the season. They've been going over a ton. Tampa Bay 7-0-1 in the last 8 meetings. They all obviously only face the Sharks twice a year, but they've had a lot of success against them in recent years. And the chat's been saying it a lot. And somebody said, "Is anyone not going to take Duclair, or is anyone not taking Duclair points or goal or whatever tonight?" And I don't see why someone wouldn't take it. It's just he has a goal in 6 of his last 8 games. And a couple of those games were when he was with San Jose, because he was starting to. It's not just being on Tampa; he was starting to heat up the couple games before he got traded, and he just kept that going right away with the Lightning on the top line with Point and Kucherov facing this horrible Sharks team that traded him away, and he's plus 230 to score. I got for him this morning. Of course, I'm on Duclair anytime goal. I love his parlay, his point as a parlay piece as well. I think it's minus 115. So if you want to bet that singly, but I would parlay it with other things. I think this is a great game for a same game parlay where you can just stack the top 6 for this Lightning team to get points. And I think this is going to be a big win for the Lightning here in this one.
All right. Liking Tampa Bay to have a good night of it. Offensively, I think we all think they could score some goals. Now, again, Blackwood is better than Krona and Cooley. Clearly he is. And he actually played well at times before his injury. But again, we're talking about a guy that hasn't been back in a long time. And, you got to face one of the hottest offensive teams right now going. And that's the Lightning at this point in time. So not an easy task for him. Like I said, there's a lot of good prop options. Cirelli and even some of these other forwards are playing well. Braden Point over 1.5 points. Is probably a good look because he's had a boatload of multi-point games recently. And, of course, it goes without saying with Kucherov. He's had 3 in a row where he's had multi-points. So, what would be a nice little same-game parlay tonight? Kucherov over 1.5 points, Braden Point over 1.5 points, and Duclair to score a goal. Put that in the same-game parlay. See what that would pay. I would think you're going to get a good price on that. And it might be worth a sprinkle there. Remember that. Duclair goal, Point over 1.5 points, and Cooch over 1.5 points for the Tampa Bay Lightning. See what that pays you in this game. So might be worth a look here. And like I said, I like the over by Fecta. I wouldn't say the team total for Tampa over is a bad bet either, but you're not getting a great bargain with it. So just the over by Fecta and the full game, which is the first period over and full game over for me. For San Jose, I do want to mention Granlund starting to play a little bit better. heat up a little bit. Zetterlund and Zadina, those would be the main targets for me as far as props for the San Jose Sharks, if they're going to get anything going offensively here tonight against Tampa. I will say this about Tampa, though. They play LA Saturday. That's a bigger game. They're coming off the big game against Vegas, the champs. This is a little flat spot, sandwich flat spot here against San Jose, which is kind of why I think, we could see San Jose maybe chip in a little bit as far as offense goes tonight in this
Plus
game.
900 for your same game parlay, plus 900.
There you go. That's worth a look. At that price, that's absolutely worth a look. And that's not even bad to look at either, Chris. Chris Otta with the Tampa to score in every period, plus 114. You're certainly getting a pretty good price with that in this game. So definitely some options there to keep an eye on. All right, great stuff. That is the Thursday NHL card, and what a card it is. We appreciate everyone joining us. 368 live viewers. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed to it as well. So make sure you're subscribed to it, and so that you get the notifications and that you are there every day that the show is on. So again, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, and player props posted there each and every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, bonus video content as well. And we do have plenty more Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up in April, down the stretch of the regular season and into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we're looking forward to that, those Patreon exclusive live betcasts. So patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And your subscription goes a long way to keeping the show going long term. So patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And our live betcast next Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is a great NHL slate next Tuesday. Make sure you join us for it. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. And, of course, the Ice Guys store. Make sure you get your merchandise and your gear each and every day available to you at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment to wrap up the show right after we hear from our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. There we go. We are back. We apologize there for the technical issues. But yeah, unfortunately, the ad stopped and then we couldn't get back to the main screen for some reason there for a bit. But finally, it's back. We are back. Apologize for that. But Again, Boston Hemp Inc. are great sponsors. Make sure you check them out. And again, you can get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Obviously, it's a huge slate. We got lots to choose from, lots on that bargain bin menu. Terry, what do you like for your bargain bin special tonight?
Yeah, I was looking at Duclair over 1.5 points. That was what I was intending on doing here. But I really love Lucas Raymond over half a power play point, plus 320 right now at Bet365. Has a goal in 5 games in a row. The Islanders' penalty kills the worst in the league, and those 4 of those goals were on the power play. So plus 320 for Raymond to get a power play point tonight.
All right, there we go. I like it. Lucas Raymond, power play point for Terry Edelman here with this one against the New York Islanders. I like it. Good value there for his bargain bin special of the night. Again, we've got no odds or bet stamp, I should say, on our radar. They're having issues too today. But I'm going to go to Connor Garland. I know he barely makes the cut. Plus 300, though, is out at FanDuel. I think there's a little bit more than that. Plus 320 at some other books. He's on the top line for Vancouver. He scored in his first game on that top line the other night against Buffalo. Let's rock with that against Montreal. Connor Garland, plus 300, maybe a little bit better than that at some other books for my bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday NHL card. All right, best bets. Terry, what do you like for best bet tonight?
Yeah, so many plays to look at, so many different choices here on tonight's slate, but I'm going to go with my only play that's not plus money, and that's the Winnipeg Jets money line minus 120. I think it's just a really great price for them here, facing New Jersey. I like the Winnipeg Jets to get the win here tonight.
All right, there it is. Winnipeg Jets minus 125 against New Jersey. Best bet for Terry here on this Thursday NHL card. We got a nice little run going with the best bets here for yours truly. So hopefully we can keep it rolling here tonight as far as best bets are concerned. For my best bet here tonight, there's some good choices here. It's lots of good choices. Let's go with I'm having a tough time tonight. There's just so many good choices. I want to keep this streak going. I'm going to go with, for best bet, I'm taking advantage of this total being 5.5. Rangers Bruins over 5.5 for me, minus 125, minus 130. I'm going to go with that. We've seen both teams with an uptick offensively. Jonathan Quick, 2 of his last 3 starts, he's given up 4 goals. Again, we're talking about 5.5 with the Bruins now. Pasternak's on fire. They're getting secondary scoring from the bottom 6 forwards. The Rangers have been in pretty good offensive form, and they're coming off a game where they only scored 2 goals. I think it's a nice look here to take a 5.5 with 2 teams in better offensive form than maybe they were at other times during the year. Bruins and Rangers over 5.5, minus 125 for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this show. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Terry Edelman, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow for a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys.